When we consider the theories that have shaped modern thought, perhaps none has cast as heavy a shadow over the human mind as Darwin's hypothesis of evolution, born out of sense knowledge that leans only on what the eyes can see and the hands can touch. It has spread a cloud of unbelief across generations. It has introduced fatalism into human thought, teaching men to see themselves as accidents of nature rather than intentional creations of God. And when men begin to think of themselves as accidents, they inevitably lose sight of their value, their dignity, and their eternal purpose. Truth, under that shadow, becomes harder to grasp. Yet despite this dark cloud, our investigation cannot stop. We must still seek to understand man's origin, his nature, and his place in the heart of God. It is not necessary for us here to engage in a lengthy debate about every detail of evolutionary theory that could consume volumes, and still the questions would remain. Instead, it is enough to point out a few foundational realities that even science, at its most recent and careful, has had to acknowledge. The latest word from science itself is that life exists in three distinct categories, separated by boundaries that cannot be crossed: vegetable life, animal life, and human life. These three stand apart, each in its own order, each bearing its own nature, and between them lie chasms that no species has ever crossed. The vegetable can never become the animal can never become the human. The line is absolute. No experiment, no fossil, no observation has ever shown otherwise. This fact alone destroys the foundation of Darwin's hypothesis, for his theory depended upon a continuous ascent, one form of life evolving into another, a great chain with no breaks. But reality does not support that dream. Instead, we see boundaries, God's boundaries, that no creature has ever crossed. Even within the animal kingdom itself, the principle holds true. In their wild state, no animals of different species ever cross. Varieties within a species may produce changes in appearance or ability, but one kind does not transform into another. The bear and the deer remain forever separate. The lion and the hyena never mingle into one creature. The crow and the robin, the hawk and the dove, the horse and the elephant each remains after its kind. Nowhere in the fossil record, nowhere in the deep forests, nowhere in the hidden places of the earth has there ever been found a creature that stood as a cross between two species. This is not because of limitation in environment or lack of opportunity, but because the law of God has set boundaries. His decree in Genesis still stands. Let the earth bring forth living creatures after their kind, cattle and creeping things, and beasts of the earth after their kind. And it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth after their kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after its kind. And God saw that it was good. That word "after its kind" reverberates through all of creation's history, and after centuries of searching, mankind has never been able to disprove it. Fossils, which are the earth's own testimony, speak with remarkable consistency. From the earliest layers of geological history to the most recent, the story is the same. Every creature appears in its own kind and remains in its own kind. The skeptic, no matter how determined, cannot point to a single example of one species transforming into another. Across the vast panorama of time, the fern that we find pressed into ancient coal beds is still the fern we know today, springing up in the shaded places of our forests. The maple leaf embedded 1,100 feet beneath the strata of coal, preserved through millennia, is still recognizably the maple leaf that grows outside your window. The same number of points, the same delicate shape, the same beauty. Life persists, but it persists within its boundaries. It changes in season, but not in essence. It adapts in environment, but not in nature. Even the creatures of the sea bear witness. The same forms of life that swim in our oceans today are found fossilized in the rocks of ages past. Shells, corals, fish, they remain unchanged in their essential form. They may grow larger or smaller depending on conditions. They may flourish in one era and diminish in another, but they never become something other than what they were created to be. The laws of God are written into their being, and they obey those laws perfectly. This, in itself, is remarkable. Nature, in all her vast complexity, moves in perfect obedience to the laws of her Creator. The wild animals live by instinct within the boundaries He has given them. The trees and plants grow according to the design set within them. The seas ebb and flow. The stars keep their courses. The seasons turn in their rhythm. All creation testifies to the order, the stability, and the wisdom of the One who made it. There is no rebellion in the fern. There is no revolt in the maple leaf. There is no transgression in the whale or the crow. They live within the laws appointed to them, and in doing so they declare the faithfulness of God. How striking, then, is the contrast with man, for unlike the rest of creation, man was given not only instinct but choice. He was made in the image of God, with the ability to reason, to love, to decide, to worship freely. And with that freedom came the possibility of disobedience. Where the animal cannot help but remain after its kind, man could choose whether to remain in fellowship with the God who created him. And it was in that choice that tragedy entered. Man stepped outside the boundaries of God's will, and in doing so he fell into sin, death, and brokenness. But the failure of man does not erase the testimony of creation. The natural world continues to proclaim its obedience. It continues to show forth the steadfastness of God's laws. Every fossil, every leaf, every creature in its kind stands as evidence that Darwin's hypothesis was mistaken, that blind chance cannot account for the harmony and consistency of life. Instead, what we see is the handiwork of an intelligent designer, a faithful creator, who made life with order and purpose and called it good. And this brings us to a sobering but hopeful realization. If the rest of creation, bound by instinct, has never strayed from the laws of its maker, how much more should man, who was given reason and spirit, return to the One who made him? If the fern in the coal bed still resembles the fern of today, if the maple leaf of the ancient world is identical to the maple leaf of your front yard, then surely man can be restored to what he was in the beginning. For though sin marred us, it did not erase the image of God. Though rebellion distorted us, it did not destroy the Father's dream. Redemption is His answer to bring us back into alignment, to restore us to the fellowship we were meant to know, to set us once more within the boundaries of life as He designed it. The laws of nature testify against the lawlessness of man, but they also testify to the constancy of God. And that constancy gives us hope. The same God who preserved the fern, the maple, the creatures of the sea, preserving them after their kind through millennia, will also preserve His purpose for man. His design for us has not been lost. His dream of a family has not been abandoned. His plan of redemption is His way of saying that just as creation remains faithful to His word, so too will He remain faithful to His word concerning us. So, in the face of every theory that would reduce man to an accident of chance, in the face of every philosophy that would strip us of dignity, in the face of every hypothesis that denies design, we stand upon the testimony of creation itself. The leaves in the coal beds, the fossils in the rocks, the creatures in the sea all cry out with one voice, after its kind, and behind that phrase stands the voice of God Himself, the Creator who spoke the word in the beginning and who even now speaks redemption over His children.